This is Wild Nevadacast. I'm Dave Santina in the studios of PBS Reno in Reno, Nevada. And if you are a Wild Nevada viewer, and I'm guessing you probably are, otherwise why are you listening to this? You probably saw one or both of the shows we did that crossed into California and the area known as Cedarville. We did a Dark Sky Territory show. That's episode 505. If you're going to watch on the streaming services, you can watch 505, Dark Sky Territory. But also we did one a year later. We really liked Cedarville and decided we need to come back and visit this town and make that the destination for a show because it was charming. So in episode 602 called Cedarville to the Tri-Point Trail, we went back, and this is where we were outside the Studio 540 Art Gallery, which we learned used to be a bookstore. And in the experience of being there, we ran into Michael Sykes, who was and now is, again, a bookstore owner in Cedarville. You owned the bookstore that was where now the art gallery is, and you had just closed it not too long before, and we showed up, and you came and told us your whole story, and we recorded it, and we were going to use it, and then it turned out the way the show got edited, we couldn't find a place where it made sense, so we ended up not using it, but we've been in touch ever since, and I've always thought it was such a cool thing that you had this story, and then you call me and say, hey, guess what? I'm opening another bookstore. And so I think it's fascinating what you're doing. So tell us tell us the story of your new place.
Well, the new place is bookstore number 8, believe it or not.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I opened my first one in 1969 in Point Reyes Station.
That's wild. Yeah, you've had 9 bookstores?
8.
8 bookstores.
I'm on my 8th one now.
8 bookstores. And so the latest one is it's not just in Cedarville, but it's in your house, right?
In my house, out of my home. Yeah. So
you're a madman.
I know. I had to figure it out. How do I do this? I have a bookstore in my home. How do I live here? I figured it took me a while. I figured it out.
So I looked a little bit into the bookstore currently. Floating Island Books is the name, right?
Right.
And people love it. One person wrote that it's a treasure trove, a one-of-a-kind, eclectic treasure trove of books, mostly used and rare, located in rural Cedarville, California. Owned and run from his home by Michael Sykes, one of the most interesting men I've ever had conversations with. That is pretty high praise.
That is.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right. That was from a Yelp review.
Ooh, there's a lot of stuff out there I don't know about.
Well, that was pretty complimentary, and I enjoyed talking to you when we met originally.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have an opportunity to talk about not only your new store, but the other 7.
Yeah.
Because your story is fascinating. You've been all over the place making bookstores happen. Where did this love of bookstores come from?
Well, I graduated from San Francisco State in 68. 66, I got my bachelor's. In 68, I got my master's in creative writing. 69, I was slated to go to the University of Iowa into the writer's workshop for my doctoral candidacy.
Okay.
And I was, pretty hyped and looking forward to it. But things happened. Things changed. And I was walking down the main street of Point Reyes Station one day, saw this empty storefront, and I said, I think I've had enough school. I don't want to go to school anymore. I want to do something. And why don't I open a bookstore? I love bookstores. So I did.
Wow. That was it. You just saw a space that I feel like doing this.
I feel like doing this.
Incredible.
I know. It's all run down. I fixed it up. I was in business.
What was your first bookstore called?
Punta de los Reyes, Point of the Kings.
Nice.
But nobody called it that. They call it the bookstore.
The bookstore, yeah.
Yeah. It was renowned for its free box, I tell you. That was a big draw.
You had a box of free books?
First, I had a free box that a refrigerator or something came in, and it was under the front window. Well, what happened? Across the street, there was this Goodwill drop-off box. And so as soon as I opened the bookstore, people started coming to town and hanging out, right?
Okay.
They'd hang out at the Goodwill box across the street, sit in the chairs and the recliners, smoke dope, and stuff like that. Well,
this was 1969, right?
Yeah, the locals weren't having that, So I put this big box under my front window inside the bookstore. And eventually it became a little room to the left as you walked in.
Okay.
And that room was renowned. It was famous. No, I'm not.
I believe you.
I'm kidding. I'll tell you a couple. Some of the funny things were people made love in the free box.
Oh, my.
Yeah. We'd stand guard kind of, like, and these couple would be in there on a pile of clothes. And
Sounds like a Burning Man exhibit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Another time, I put in a payphone. This was back when they weren't hip to the fact that if somebody called an 800 number and you picked it up, collect call, no
Right.
charge, right?
Yeah.
So we had calls coming in from Nepal, South America, Tokyo, Paris,
Incredible.
I know.
You were the international hub.
International hub. The only other thing that happened, I can remember, it was so much fun, was somebody brought in a kilo of dope one time, marijuana,
Wow.
in little 1 ounce packets, made a little pyramid on one of the shelves. Very cool.
This place was a little bit loose.
It was a little bit loose.
Yeah.
Well, tail end of the 60s.
Yeah. So how long did that bookstore last?
5 years till 74.
And then you decided to move on?
Yeah, I sold it for nothing, and paid off a bill. And then I went into publishing, worked as a publisher as a typographer, really, for 20 years and started my publishing business. And then, lo and behold, 20 years later, in 94, I opened another bookstore, but in Cedarville.
In Cedarville, okay.
Yeah.
Was it that long between stores?
Mm-hmm.
So your second store was at Cedarville or your third store? Second store.
Second store.
Okay, and that was in 94.
Yeah.
And so you've been in Cedarville. Are all of the other 6, 7 stores in Cedarville?
No.
Oh, okay.
I went to Cedarville and opened Great Basin Books, it was called.
An appropriate title.
Appropriate title. I love Cedarville. I went up there for a 6-month sabbatical from the Bay Area. I said,
Okay.
I've had it. I got to go get away and do some writing, walking around, wandering and wondering. And after 1 month of this so-called sabbatical, I said, that's it. I'm not going back.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it about that area that grabbed you?
Oh, man. The open space, the vistas, the silence, the real friendly people. I thought, it's pretty conservative. It's all Bush Cheney, and it's got bumper stickers and whatnot, and it's got a rifle in the back window of the pickup. And
you're Bay Area academic.
yeah, from Marin County, which may be in the same new redistribution for voting things in California. Anyway, so, but no, I just loved it. And I had a little apartment looking south across Surprise Valley, writing and really enjoying it. And I said, well, okay, I decided not to go back. What do I do? How will I stay here? Hence, I opened a bookstore
Okay.
and substituted in local schools and stuff.
And that was Great Basin Books.
That was Great Basin Books, yeah.
Okay, so that's bookstore number 2.
Yeah.
And we're in 1994.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Well, I'm from the East Coast originally, Cape Cod, and I go back and forth. And my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to see Maine. And so did I. I love Maine. So I said, okay, let's go check it out. Went back to Maine, met some people, went to a little lobster fishing village called Stonington at the tip of Deer Isle. And everything kind of came together, and all the voices said, come here for a while. So I did. I rented a old pharmacy building and a house across the street from it on stilts over the water, lobster boats going by, My girlfriend
Beautiful.
was in heaven. She thought this was great.
Sounds incredible.
I said, okay, you stay here. I'm going back. I'll move us out. I'll load a U-Haul. Bring us, And of course, I was gone, and she was a good-looking woman. And by the time I finally moved there, she found somebody else. But
Oh, no.
But hell, I mean, we stayed good friends, and we saw each other. Life moves on.
It was good of you.
Yeah, I didn't. I lost a little ground there, but I regained it.
So you're in Maine.
Yeah, for only a year, maybe. And then the winter hit. And all the pretty leaves had fallen off the trees. And by the time that last leaf had fallen and all the New Yorkers had gone home, it wasn't any business at all.
So had you started a bookstore in Maine too?
Yeah.
What was that one called?
That was called Floating Island Books and Publication.
Okay, so that's where the first time you get Floating Island in there.
That's right.
So where did that name come from? What is that reference?
I started out on Point Reyes Peninsula, Inverness, Point Reyes Station. That's on the Pacific Plate, and it grinds horizontally along the American Plate along the San Andreas Fault. So really, Point Reyes Peninsula is a floating island. That's how geologists refer to
Okay.
it. I figured out in 50 years, a million years, it'd be about 50 miles northwest
Maybe, yeah.
off the coast.
Yeah. So it's a floating island.
It's a floating island.
Nice. So that was in Maine for about a year? Not even a year?
Not even a year, yeah.
Okay.
The winter hit, and I said, no way. No. I thought winters in Cedarville got cold. Go to Maine.
No, Maine cut that cold wind and that bitter wet cold, that humidity with cold cuts you in half.
That humidity practically killed me in the summer.
In the summer, it's a different kind of pain, but in the winter, it's just the cold, the cutting cold is brutal.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal. So, all right, so you're in Maine. You don't want to be in Maine anymore.
Yeah, my sister says, come on down to the Cape, my house in Brewster. And why don't you come down and check it out and see if you'd like to move here? I said, okay. Went down there. It was like going to the Bahamas, I'll tell you. So I moved back down to the Cape where I was from for about 5 or 6 months.
Did you open a bookstore in those 5 or 6 months?
I could have. I looked around. I had all these books stashed in my sister's basement.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So what led you to number 4, bookstore number 4?
Bookstore number 4. Well, I decided that I really missed Cedarville and the Great Basin.
Yeah.
The Cape was, beautiful.
Of course, yeah. It's
renowned.
renowned.
I had a lot of connections. But, I just kept being pulled back. Then John and Rachel Bogart at Planet X Pottery called me up. And I hadn't been on the Cape for a month. They said, how'd you like to go to Planet Mex with us down at Bahia de los Angeles in Baja?
So there was a Planet Mex.
Planet Mex.
And that inspired the Planet X that's up here?
Planet X inspired Planet Mex.
Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me. I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so they opened something else down there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not a pottery or anything, just a place, to hang out.
Gotcha.
And enjoy the
Oh, so they named it
Planet Mex.
like a vacation house. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So Planet Mex. So you go to Planet Mex.
Yeah, and I think this is great, and I loved it, and spent a few weeks there. And I drove John's sister down in one of his trucks, and I came back, and he said, "How would you like to come out and be caretaker of Planet X for the summer?" Yeah, why not? I don't like this humidity on the Cape. I'm going back to the desert.
Nice.
So off to Planet X. I spent the summer there.
For those who don't know, Planet X is just outside of Gerlach, which is northeast of Reno, more north than east.
Northwest.
Northwest of Gerlach, but northeast of Reno, right? No, is it north? I'm trying to picture it on the map. Wait a minute, I actually have a map I should be looking at here.
Yeah, it's in Washoe County.
Oh yeah. So you go straight up past Pyramid, and then it's you can go on 80 east and then north from Wadsworth up to Gerlach, and then Planet X is just past that. And that's one way also to get to Cedarville. That's the way we did on our Dark Sky Territory show.
You bet.
You can also take 395 from Reno up through Janesville, and 395 takes you up to Alturas, and you can cross over the mountain there to Cedarville. That's the other way. They're both a little over 3 hours of driving, I think.
Yeah.
So you're at Planet X. Did you make a bookstore at Planet X?
John suggested it. He had this idea. He had this vision. Why don't you put a bookstore on the porch in the old house? I said, sounds great. So he glassed it all in and everything, and was ready for me to come down there and have a bookstore. And I said, I met a woman. That's an old story. Met a woman who wanted me to stay put in Cedarville.
Aha.
I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will. And so I rented the studio space above the old bookstore in that big brick building.
There's a vintage classic brick building that's the classic building in town. I can't think of the name right now.
Kressler Bonner building.
Thank you, the Kressler Bonner building. And so we got a little bit of a tour of that in the Wild Nevada episode where we spent some time in Cedarville. But so above that second floor of that building, you built number 4?
Well, no, I moved into the studio.
Okay.
And it's like 65 feet long and 25 feet wide, no pillars, big open room.
Wow.
Like a New York loft.
Okay.
Overlooking Nevada. So,
beautiful, yeah, great view.
How can you beat that? So my girlfriend said, well, she said, here's a bunch of stuff you can put in the studio, kind of make it livable. And I'm moving down to Petaluma from Weaverville in California. And I said, oh, great, okay. Let's see. Tell you what, though, the bookstore space that I used to have, it's empty. They moved out. It's just sitting there. And all my books are back east in my sister's basement. So I'll go back and get them, get a U-Haul. You come with me. She was from Belgium, and she'd never seen the United States.
Oh, okay.
I said,
It's an attractive offer.
attractive offer. Yeah, I met a woman the other day. I invited her to go to Mexico with me, but she hasn't really responded yet. That's okay.
Well, stand by for that.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
at this point, did she come with you to the East Coast?
she flew out
Okay.
with me, and we got a U-Haul, loaded. Well, no, I flew back first, got the U-Haul, loaded it up, then she flew. And then we drove across the country. It took a week, and all the books are now on the stairs above the old bookstore space, leading up to the studio.
Nice.
So one thing, you start thinking, and well, why not open the bookstore again?
Sure.
What the hell? I mean, what am I going to do with all these books? So I did.
So did you change the name now because it was Great Basin the first time?
And in Maine, it was Floating Island Books.
Floating Island Books in Maine, but what did you call it, this number 4?
I call it Floating Island
It
Books.
stays with the name sticks from here on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that stays Floating Island.
Good reason for that, too.
Yeah.
Because I learned in living in Cedarville on the edge of the Great Basin that there are 270 distinct mountain ranges in the Great Basin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most running north-south.
The most, yeah.
All running all the way over to the Wasatch Range in Utah.
Yes.
And geologists call them floating islands.
Ah,
They like Point Reyes.
that's a sort of fortuitous coincidence.
There's even a floating island peak in the Great Salt Lake Desert.
So it's all pointing to that name. So that name works.
That one ain't work.
So that's your 4th bookstore, and it's the second one in the same space in Cedarville.
Yeah.
And so you've got 3 more to go before we get to the latest one. So what happened to these? What are these other 3?
Well, 2 of them were in the same building.
Okay.
I moved to the middle space, and I moved back to back and forth, trying it out. And for a while, because my girlfriend was living down in Petaluma, I opened a bookstore in Occidental in West Sonoma County, out towards the. And I had that for about 6 months, and it was wildly successful, but I was homesick.
Mm.
I mean, there's a woman there, and all this, there's that. But Cedarville, and she loved Cedarville, and she wanted me to keep the studio, start the bookstore. She'd come up and visit. Okay. So I started it up again in December 2001 and was there 20 years.
And that's the longest, by far, right? The longest you've held a bookstore open, 20 years?
I was bouncing back and forth between spaces in that big brick building, but basically.
I think it counts. Same building.
Same building.
It qualifies.
Yeah.
So nice. Okay. And then you had just closed up not too long before I met you, if I'm understanding correctly. We had come out to do the show about Cedarville, and we were spending the day exploring the town, and we explored the art gallery, which we really enjoyed. And then we come out, and there you're there to say, hey, I wanted to say hello, and this used to be my bookstore, and so we talked about this, and you were talking about at the time. I remember you had sort of talked about thinking about opening it up again, but this time at my house. I had in the barn. I think you said there was a barn space or something like that. So what happened that led you to once again open up a bookstore?
Well, I was kind of lost my lease at the big brick building in 21. And it was another question of, what do I do now? What do I do next? And I had my little house. I owned it. I lived there. I thought, I'm off Main Street. It feels good to be off Main Street. I think I'll just kind of try it out of the house. But it didn't happen right away. It took a while. Like I said, I had to figure out how to have a bookstore and live there. It's a tiny house. It has a nice yard. And so, I bought a big shed, kind of a small lofted barn.
That's what I'm remembering.
I bought that, stuck it in the backyard, and spent a couple of years building my inventory. That's the fun part of opening a bookstore.
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you approach building an inventory for a bookstore?
You just go around. You look everywhere. You look at yard sales, and Friends of the Library bookstores are my favorite. And of course, now over the last few years, people have been just throwing their books out. They're not reading.
Because they're doing everything on their phone.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, the kids and whatnot. But so there's a wealth of books out there to be found, And I have a pretty good eye for books. After all those years, I pretty much knew. So I'd get in. I got 2 pickup loads of books from one estate in Berkeley, and there was some really good books. A doctor's estate, I think it was, and I found one at the bottom of a case, orange crate or something.
Yep.
Looked pretty interesting. It was a bartender's guide from 1862.
Oh, my.
And the guy was obviously a journeyman bartender in San Francisco Bay Area.
Right.
I sold that little puppy for $2,000.
Wow. That's a gold nugget for sure.
That's a gold nugget.
You found that.
I hope the owner isn't listening, but anyway. Former owner.
All right, so now you've got this store. So how do people find you? And do you have, regular hours? Because if it's in your house,
yeah,
I might feel a little self-conscious about walking up and knocking on the door.
Yeah, people do, I think, a little bit. They can zoom on past without noticing, or they see the sign, they say, or they make a mental note, hey, bookstore, what? And, for a while it was all just hit and miss. I'd be there, I wouldn't be there. People come early morning. I don't like to open early mornings. I like to write in the morning, do my own thing.
Okay.
And so afternoons, early evenings, that was kind of my idea. Then this summer, past summer, I said, it's time to open and really be here. I got to be here if I'm going to do any business.
Sure.
And Burning Man's about to happen.
Oh, right. Good thought. Yeah. Timing is good.
Timing is good. They have to all go by my house.
Yeah.
I figured, well, okay. So I had a big book sale on the front lawn going. It's about mid-August. And it was in the sun on one side of my little sidewalk leading up to my front door. On the other side, it was nice and shady. And so I put up the semicircle of chairs and another table and a cooler full of bottled ice water and apples from the trees all over the place,
Oh, that's very appealing.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
And I just invited Berners to stop by and get some water, sit and chat and look at books. I didn't care if they bought one or not. The deal outside the book sale was you put your own price on the book, whatever you think. Think of it as a donation to a cause. And I said, it's a good cause. I said, put some money in an envelope and slip it under my front door if I'm not home.
Nice.
It surprised me. Or I said, if I am home, come on in and maybe I'll surprise you.
So how does that work? Do people slide an envelope under the door? Does that really happen?
No, they usually just stuff bills under the door, which is fine with me.
That works too, yeah.
You open the door and the bills flutter along into the living room.
As long as they go in to the house and not out. Right. That's all I worry about.
Right.
So obviously this is not sustaining you all by itself because you're far too generous. So what is it that you gain? What is it? How does it feed you to do this?
The people who stop from all over the world, mostly people who are out traveling and wanting to see wild Nevada, wild California, whatever,
sure.
Wild Oregon.
Yeah.
People who like the open backcountry and the dark sky. When that happened that summer, there were 200 or 300 people that came into the bookstore just inquiring. So those are the kind of people that come. They're invariably interesting.
Yeah.
And have stories,
They are. And usually people who are curious to come to a new place, or if they're curious enough to travel, they're usually pretty interesting.
That's right.
And they're curious enough to want to meet new people too.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful area. We really found it charming in the brief period we spent doing the Dark Sky show.
Yeah.
And we thought we should come back just to visit here because this place seems like it would be worth spending more time other than just, stopping, sleeping, getting up, eating, and going out into the desert to look at the dark sky. So we did that show, and that's where we met. And it was tremendous, and we really enjoyed it. And I still say, I know there's the Dark Sky. There's an event every year
Just happened.
draws crowds every year, but also there are a number of attractions there. I was going to ask you, as a resident of Cedarville, how do you describe it to people as a place that they might want to come and maybe spend a weekend?
Well, I say, you can just go out for the whole day. Take some food, take a lot of water, check your spare before you leave Cedarville, and just go out there and see what you can find and see what happens. I said, you might not see another person all day long, and that's usually the case. You'll see eagles, you'll see antelope, you'll see wild burros and coyotes and whatnot, but you won't see any other people probably. And so you better be prepared. And that's the advice I give people. Then I send them off on some jaunt. I get out the map, I say, try this one, try that one. And there's a few established routes that are really good to drive in a day, like say day trips. And, it's just, I say, go out there, sit on a rock in the middle of the desert and just listen to the silence. I would do that. That's one of the things that caught me when I first moved there. Go on a desert, sit on a rock. I could see a puff of breeze coming hundreds of yards away. The grass would move, I'd say, it's coming my way. And sure enough, blow past me real soft.
It is pretty incredible to have that experience where you really get a sense of just the movement of air in wide spaces.
I know.
That happened to me once at the top of a mountain ridge. We were doing a backpacking episode in Great Basin National Park.
Oh, it's
from peak to peak, and it was a little late. We shouldn't have been up as late as we were on the mountain. That was one of our mistakes. We made it. It was okay. Obviously, I'm here, but it was, we learned some lessons on that show. But one of the things I still remember is looking out over the shadow that was cast from the peak where I stood looking east, and it was going out into Utah, and just this massive shadow. And then I felt the wind. I felt the movement of air past me and down into this valley, and it was so overwhelmingly, massive, and I was so I was dwarfed by it. I felt talk about awe. Things being awesome. It's a word that's overused. That's a moment where you really feel it.
Yeah, I know. You were up on Wheeler Peak Mountain?
No, we were to the south. There's trying to remember the name of the mountain. We started Mount Washington, I think, and then we hiked north. And we were trying to get up to a point. We never made it. We ended up going down to earlier, but we still had a beautiful little lake camp out and hiked out the next day. It was one of those classic. It was a wild Nevada in the sense that we always intended, which is this is a plan. This is the plan we're going to try to execute, and then whatever happens really happens, and that's the trip, and that's real. Yeah. That happens in road trips. You make plans and things change, and that one, a lot of things changed, but it turned out to be a really interesting one and a great experience. Personally, I loved being able to say I did it. I don't know that I loved it at the time. I might not have loved it in the moment, but certainly afterward, it's like, wow, that was really something unusual, and I'm glad I got to experience it. So that's some of the beauty of travel.
I know.
So you guys, your imprint now at Floating Island is more than it's an imprint beyond being a bookstore. You mentioned this, and we had a conversation before you came for today, and you mentioned that you're publishing again through Floating Island as an imprint, right?
Yeah, I started in 1976, 2 years after I got out of the first bookstore. I went to work as a typographer, worked in book design studios. I wanted to do something all along. And so, perfect opportunity. Put out Floating Island 1, an anthology of poetry and fiction, photography, graphic arts. And this is the Point Reyes issue, the first one. And and now I just published my 55th title.
Wow.
55 books.
Are they all anthologies like that, or are they all different?
I just did 4 anthologies.
Gotcha.
I have another one coming up that's a big one, but not a Floating Island. The new one's called Gravity, a Journal of Attraction.
Oh, I like that.
That's going to be really something. But anyway, I started the imprint and got Floating Island 1 and 2 out. And then I found out about this program to the National Endowment. They were supporting independent presses. So I said, okay, let's get started. So I rounded it up. You have to have published 2 books to apply for a grant.
They want to make sure that you've got legitimate chops.
Yeah. Oh, I quickly published 2 books by poets that were in Floating Island. And I was eligible, and sure enough, I got a grant. Boom. Another grant. Boom. Yeah, I got 3 grants from the NEA. And late 70s, early 80s, and a couple from the California Arts Council. California Arts Council, I think Gary Snyder was the chairman, maybe. Peter Coyote, a good friend of mine, was on the board. They were funding all kinds of wild and crazy stuff, you know. And yeah, I got my grant through them too, to help with Floating Island 2, actually. And I was off and running. And the first half of the publishing that I did was pretty much funded by the National Endowment and the California Arts Council. Then after that, it was each book had its own creative source of funding, as it were.
Nice. So this is work, not just your writing, but others.
Yeah.
So is in your current piece, is the piece that's coming, Gravity, a journal of attraction. Is that you? Is that a combination? Is that somebody else?
I'm inviting people that have been contributors in the past to be part of it, and welcoming new voices and everything. I have a long essay by Peter Coyote, Hiking the Sierra, to Gary Snyder's place.
Okay, nice.
Wonderful. It's just great. And I have new photography from people, and an excerpt from the book I just published. It's called Letters to Captain Jack, by this Belgian woman who I was involved with, you know, romantically for a number of years, and then now we're just great friends. Maybe we're still romantic.
Hey, there's time. Don't count yourself out yet.
No.
You never know.
You never
Relationships change. They shift.
They do.
They're floating islands.
They're floating islands. Yeah, I think in the end, friendship beats it all. You know?
Agreed.
Really close friendship.
Agreed. All right. So I want to remind everybody before we go that the bookstore is open for business. Do you have regular hours?
Not really. Whenever I'm there, and I'm there most of the time.
Okay.
So, late mornings to early evenings, I'd say.
Okay. Late mornings to early evenings, most days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's, again, you can find this by searching Floating Island Books through, and, you know, just do a search online, we'll find it, right?
Yeah, but, you know, oddly enough, after all these years, I don't even have a website yet. I'm waiting for somebody to come along and say,
well,
hey,
clearly people are writing about it for you, because that review I wrote or read from earlier was a Yelp review from someone who had been there, and they include the address. What is the street address?
590 Kressler Street.
In Cedarville.
Yeah, named after one of the town's founders, William Kressler.
Same name as the old building name.
The building, yeah.
The old brick building.
It's right on Highway 299, though, in the corner of 299, just before or after Rabbit Tracks gas station.
Gotcha.
Depending on whether you're coming or going.
We started an episode at the gas station. I think the one we did, episode 602. I think we started at the gas station, getting gas for our day. So that's a good reference. All right. This is so fun. This is one of the things I was hoping to do with this podcast, was to sort of enhance some of these programs we've done with little extra material that didn't make it into the show, but helps people who maybe want to decide, what am I going to do this weekend? Maybe I want to get out and explore. Where would I go? Oh, well, I can watch this episode, and maybe I now can plan to go and check out this bookstore, which I think would be, you know, after anybody listens to your story, how would you not want to go and check it out?
Yeah,
I think you'd have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. So Cedarville in town, by the way, those of you who were just listening to Michael talk about, you know, getting out and exploring and enjoying the silence, there is a fair bit to do in town as well. There are nice restaurants, the art gallery we mentioned is still running, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, you know, that's fun. And so it's a really pleasant experience being in the town as well. So I personally can recommend it, having been there. And so that's my Yelp review right there.
Oh, good.
So thank you so much for coming and giving me your time. I really enjoy being able to talk about how this all came together. 8 bookstores. Do you think you're going to do 9, or are you going to this is going to be it?
I think this is probably it. Yeah.
8 is enough.
Yeah, I think
it's a 70s sitcom, and it's the number of bookstores that you should stop at. Hey, this crossed over. This is a Wild Nevadacast that kind of crossed over into the PBS Reno art style. We're doing bookstores. We're talking about all the history of this art, but it's really fun. And thank you. I really appreciate you coming and give me some time today.
You bet, Dave.
And
Thank you.
Next time, hopefully, I see you at your bookstore.
I hope so too.
I would love that. All right. So everybody, before we go, remember to watch Wild Nevada. That's on PBS Reno via broadcast or streaming at pbsreno.org and at many other streaming sources. Also, watch segments on PBS Reno's YouTube channel. And if you have a question about Wild Nevada, or maybe a comment or a suggestion, send them to me at podcast@pbsreno.org. I want to say thank you again to Michael Sykes. Thanks for coming and giving us the time. And thank you for listening to Wild Nevadacast.